What do you think? Do Democrats and Republicans like doing the same stuff in bed? Hi, I'm Dr. Marianne Brandon. I'm here with my husband.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Abraham Morgentaler, and we are the Sex Doctors. Welcome to another podcast. So, Dr. Brandon, what a pleasure to see you again.
And you too, Dr. Morgentaler. I have not seen you all day.
So, what's going on here?
Well, I thought since we're the sex doctors, we should be talking about sex.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Thank you. And I also thought since we're all talking about politics these days and Democrats and Republicans, it seemed like it would be fun to take a survey and see if they agree or they don't agree on what's fun to do in bed.
Great. Love it.
Yeah.
So, why don't I say a little bit about what the survey was?
Okay.
Great. So this was an online survey done through social media. We got 167 respondents that ranged in age from 21 to older than 60. 90% of the respondents...
Before we start, a small disclaimer. The Sex Doctors podcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice.
Welcome to the Sex Doctors, featuring Dr. Marianne Brandon, clinical psychologist and diplomate in sex therapy, and Dr. Abraham Morgentaler, renowned urologist and expert in sexual medicine and testosterone therapy. Together, they bring you expert insights into sex, intimacy, and relationships. Let's dive in.
I believe in miracles. We're male, so this is really a...
90%.
Yeah, so I don't exactly know why it got skewed that way, but clearly the men were more interested in answering this questionnaire or survey than the women. So we may as well, the answers for this are really male.
Yeah. Male Democrats and male Republicans. That's really what we got here.
And we got, so we asked two general questions about favorite sexual activities.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what are the desirable qualities in a partner or a lover?
Yep.
And we asked them about their political orientation, right? So we have Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we go through what some of the responses were?
Yeah. Well, okay. So what do you think out of all of our respondents, the most popular sexual activity was? What?
Well, I know the answer.
Eating. I shouldn't have given you that page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we tease the audience?
Okay.
What do they think is the...
So they have to think. We should have like a little suspense music going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that game show?
Yeah, right.
Do.
I don't know, but yeah.
I don't know what that
So
game show
it
is.
was, drum roll, giving oral sex.
Giving it.
Giving it.
Right. Giving it.
Yeah.
You'd think it would be receiving it.
You know, that was my first thought too. But then, you know what? I realized that in my office, in my practice, at least amongst heterosexual people, the things that men ask for more, truly, giving oral sex, they say they want to do that with their partner.
Yeah.
And anal sex. That's what they ask for more. So when giving oral sex shows up on top of the list, I thought I really shouldn't be surprised by that. I hear it all the time.
Yeah. So I should mention that one of the choices was giving oral sex and receiving oral sex.
Yeah.
And I think if the stereotypes held true, where men are kind of all about themselves sexually,
Oh, I like this. Yeah.
it should be receiving oral
should.
sex. Now, that was still high up there.
It was. It wasn't low on the list.
But it wasn't as much as giving, and so, the last book that I wrote, which was called The Truth About Men and Sex,
Yeah.
I made an argument that wasn't all that well received in all circles, but it was based on what I heard in my practice, which is that men are really trying hard to be good partners. And there is this idea for men want to be great lovers.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's a funny way to put it, but we talk about men as providers. Men get a lot of self-satisfaction. They see themselves within a relationship as being able to take care of their partners, especially if they're heterosexual. And there's a part of this that comes out in the sexual sphere also, they only want to give it, but they want to give it because it provides pleasure. They're providing for, and the guys want to be like, I don't know if James Bond probably isn't the right kind of hero in terms of sexual stuff, but they want to be great lovers. So that's how I see that.
Okay. Well, so giving and receiving oral sex were high up there. You know what was higher than I expected? Kissing and playing with sex toys.
Huh. Yeah.
Not that I would think those were low on the list.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily correlate men with liking to kiss and men with liking sex toys.
Right.
Or when their partner plays with sex toys.
Right.
So that sort of supports what you're saying, frankly.
Yeah. The other one that goes along with it that was surprising to me is how high foreplay ranked. So again, this is 90% male audience or respondents. And I guess I need to give a caveat here. So, this is not a rigorously performed questionnaire.
No.
It's not a validated or standardized questionnaire. We're not looking here to write this up for publication, for research. So we're not really looking for statistical significance for any of these differences. We're just sharing some of these results that are based on a very straightforward survey. And of course, one of the variables is that people choose whether or not they're going to actually answer these questions or take it. So there's a self-selection that
which is important.
Comes out of that. But of the group that did respond,
yes,
foreplay was down as a favored or favorite activity in 74% of these guys.
Right.
And again, it goes against the stereotype of guys being the wham, slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, right? Where they're just completely penocentric, focused on their own satisfaction and then getting out of there.
Yeah.
So that may tell us something about who's responding to these surveys, or it may say something about how the stereotypes of men aren't necessarily accurate.
Well, I hope we do more surveys like this to sort of explore. Yes.
Yeah.
We would
use that.
We
word
would the
flesh,
female voice.
and
here.
I use the word flesh it out advisedly.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I think, they're always, as with any group, I think that there's some bad apples that often get picked out as if they're representative of everybody. But, the idea that men are just like these selfish pigs, or as I like to say, that the general characteristics of men is as if they are spring breakers in college. Men change over time. And especially, I think, in this day and age, men are working hard to be better partners.
Now, let me see. My guess is this is going to apply more to men who are partnered than men who are not, because the spring breakers may not kind of agree with the kinds of stuff we're seeing.
Yeah,
here.
great.
So I just want to add that. Now, let's talk about the traits that people found desirable.
Okay.
Two things that I noticed there that were, I thought, very noteworthy. So first of all, kind of funny, is the most important trait out of all the stuff that we asked about was cleanliness. Cleanliness and being well-groomed.
Yeah.
That was the most important thing on top of everything else.
Isn't that interesting?
It was sort of hilarious when you think about the fact that these guys, their favorite thing to do was give oral sex. So you can see why cleanliness was like a thing.
Excellent point.
It kind of goes together.
I like that. Excellent point.
It's the hand in the glove kind of thing, right?
In glove.
So that was good.
Right.
Now, what also surprised me.
I could think of a sexual equivalent to that, but we're not going there.
We're not?
No.
Okay. Now I really would like you to.
Well, one's a condom and the other thing is something that goes inside.
All right. Okay.
All right. I mean, I got you speechless with it.
Yeah.
So
the what
characteristics?
Well, yeah. The other thing that surprised me was how truly low on the list was physical attraction.
It was low on the list.
Low on the list.
Isn't that something?
It really is. And it really supports a message that I feel is very true, that I give to my clients all the time, which is it's so much less about like how you look and so much more about who you are as a lover. And these stats completely support that.
Yeah.
So I think people can feel like disempowered if they don't look the way they want to look, and like they sort of feel um pessimistic about getting a partner or whatever else they think about on the dating sites. They're not like looking the way they're supposed to, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is what people are looking for are things like, enthusiastic, playful, compassionate, these loving, passionate. These are the traits that score highly.
Yeah.
Like physical attraction was way at the bottom of the list over there. So
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe it's worthwhile making a distinction that these aren't necessarily the traits that one would want to date.
Mm-hmm.
These are traits of a sexual partner.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
And they may not be the same.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
I think that's right on. So what people look for in a dating partner or a hookup is very different
Yeah, could be.
from what they look for in a long-term partner.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Hats off to you on that one. That was a good point.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Should we talk about political stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're making no judgments.
Oh, no.
We're not saying one is good or one is bad, but I thought I was really interested to look at these results. So we looked at, again, all the different favorite sexual activities, and we broke it down by Republican, Democrat, and independent. And these, of course, people are categorizing themselves. They're answering the questionnaire, telling us sort of their party affiliation or lack of party affiliation. So I'm going to quiz you.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So if you want, number one, so the number one activity was different for Democrats than it was for Republicans. For Democrats, it was, so here's our choices. I'll read you a few. Kissing, foreplay, playing with sex toys, oral sex giving, oral sex receiving, intercourse missionary position, intercourse doggy style, anal intercourse. Number one for Democrats was...
I'm going to have to say giving oral sex, since this was such a popular activity.
That was the second highest.
Okay.
But the first highest was foreplay.
Foreplay.
That's Democrats.
That's Democrats.
Republicans...
They like that warm-up.
Right. The Republicans and independents scored highest on the same item.
Okay.
Which was oral sex giving.
Okay. Well, so the Democrats like maybe they, yeah, okay, I'm speculating too much, but the Democrats like the foreplay, and the Republicans, they like giving oral sex.
Right.
That seems to be pretty clear here.
Right.
Okay.
Now, both of them liked foreplay. I mean, all of them liked foreplay. It was just like what got rated number one.
A little higher than the other. Yeah.
Now, there were some other interesting differences, and again, we're not claiming any statistical significance to these differences. This is just the results that we observed.
Yeah.
So if we go to light bondage, and whether people like that as a favored activity, sexual activity, Democrats doubled the rates for Republicans.
Huh.
They weren't sky high, 29% versus 13%.
Well, I have to say, I fully intend to do another survey like this where we can compare, encourage women somehow to take the survey, and then compare female and male preferences.
Well, that's good.
And I've got to tell you, based on what we've learned from the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, females are going to knock that one out of the park.
Yeah.
But
now, intense bondage, we had no takers amongst the Democrats. And 6% amongst the Republicans. These aren't high numbers, but you wouldn't expect it, right? I mean, these aren't necessarily the most mainstream things.
Right.
And then if we get down to, it's just categorized fetish behavior without specifying what it is.
Okay.
Who do you think was higher, Democrats or Republicans?
Well, I'm gonna go Democrats just because they tend to have more permissive sexual attitudes, but I don't know.
Well, now the numbers aren't terribly high, but about 10% of Republicans endorse this,
Mhm.
and only 3% of Democrats.
Wow. So the sex therapist blew that one.
Yeah. And, one could make an argument that a lot of what people like sexually is the things that are taboo.
Well, there is that argument actually. So Justin Laymiller he's a Kinsey researcher. He wrote a book on fantasies,
Right.
and he came to that conclusion. I'm trying to remember now. I think that I think his conclusion was Democrats were more into power play and bondagey stuff, and Republicans were more into like cuckolding and infidelity, basically because those were less acceptable within
Yeah.
their parties or the ideology.
Yeah.
So I think there's truth to that. People like what
Yeah.
they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. They like what's taboo.
Yeah.
It's another part of the brain. We keep talking about that, but it's
Mhm.
another part of the brain. And it's got nothing to do with what one believes is politically correct.
Right.
Right? Like
That's
what
right.
one likes, you can't really, it's not a rational decision.
It is not a rational decision.
It's that sex part of the brain just has a mind of its own, if you will.
That's right. You know what? I use this example. I've probably said it before on this podcast, but I love it so much. I tell my clients, like, if I go out to dinner tonight and there's gluten-free chocolate cake on the menu, I don't care what else is on the menu. That's what I want.
Right.
That's what I want. My
Yeah.
body wants that.
Yeah.
Now, I might choose like strawberries for dessert or whatever else, but that's not what I want.
No.
And sex is like that.
Yeah. It's almost like it's off limits to you. Not really.
Well, it's chocolate, babe.
It's chocolate.
Yeah, no.
Right. But right, there are reasons that you also don't want to have it, right? Like the rational decision.
Yeah.
Too many calories, fattening, and all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
It makes it all the more exciting to actually have it. Don't
I
you
think no, I think it's just that it's chocolate.
Oh, you think it's chocolate? Oh, okay. So this is nothing to do at all with sex or the
This
sexual
analogy,
project. It's
it'll
just
be going so
chocolate.
far.
It's like there's a part of the brain that just is chocolate.
It is. It's
Yeah.
just
You
chocolate.
have your speech center. You have your.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And I have a chocolate center.
Yeah. There you
Well, men may have an oral sex giving center.
They could.
Yeah.
They could.
So
Well, I thought this was really interesting, and it was fun talking to you about it. And so I think we should do more of these.
I would love to do more. We're gonna put surveys on the website, and I'll start announcing it so people know to go to the site and fill them out.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thus ends another podcast of the Sex Doctors. And Dr. Brandon, it's been a pleasure being here with you today.
Thank you so much, Dr.
And
Morgan.
for those of you who are watching us or listening to us, if you want more of this content or you like it, please give us a thumbs up. Give us a nice review if you're so inclined, and subscribe. Yeah. Great.
See you
Okay.
soon.
See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Sex Doctors with Dr. Marianne Brandon and Dr. Abraham Morgentaler. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tune in next time for more expert advice on sexual health and relationships.
I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came